Hi, I'm Ondine Sherman. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Sydney, and I want to talk about my PhD research and findings called Becoming an Animal Person, Animals as Partners in Our Transformation. And my supervisors are Professor Danielle Sellermeyer and Dr. Dinesh Wadawal. My research questions are firstly, can animals be partners in transforming us individuals into animal people? And secondly, why do animals and our relationships and encounters with animals only transform a small minority of people? I want to note that I'm not yet finished my PhD, and this is a broad brush of some of the interesting themes that have emerged. I'll hopefully have more to report next year as I'm polishing off my findings and conclusions, and hopefully we'll have clearer suggested strategies for the animal protection movement to adopt. My personal interest is founded on my experiences as a self-identified animal person. I'm the co-founder and managing director of Voiceless, the Animal Protection Institute, since 2004. The key focus of my research is how can animals shape and transform us into animal people through meaningful encounters and relationships. With this, I'm adopting a relational ecofeminist approach, centering animals as agents, subjects, and active participants in these encounters and relationships. I'm exploring how these experiences influence our worldviews, moral frameworks, and vegan aspirations, moving us from anthropocentric to egalitarian perspectives. I'm also looking at additional enabling influences, such as growing up with pro-animal family members, mentors, visual media such as documentaries and social media, pre-existing vegan diets or vegetarian diets, and negative experiences with humans. The key theoretical frameworks I'm adopting are ecofeminism, entangled empathy, attentiveness and awe, the ethics of difference, the I-thou relationship, and transformative learning. My participants are Australians aged between 18 and 25 years who identified as animal people in that they have animal rights worldviews, are vegans or aspiring to be vegans, and are engaged in the animal protection movement. Most of my participants identified as female, following a vegetarian to vegan lifestyle, were non-religious, left-wing, and considered themselves particularly empathetic. Most of them described experiences of social isolation due to their animal values and vegan diet. Their worldviews can be considered non-traditional, including egalitarian and biocentric perspectives, where participants view animals as subjects of a life. This is a quote from one participant, which paints a picture of her worldview on animals. As I mentioned, I'm adopting an ecofeminist lens here, and I'm interested in how my research can explore the full remit of participants' lived and embodied experiences with animals. This reflects relational theories that emphasize the importance of animal-human connections, relationships, and interactions. For example, Laurie Gruen's theory of entangled empathy, which proposes a blend of affect and cognition during an animal encounter. Using qualitative methodologies allowed me to explore this relational aspect and consider my participants' emotional experiences with animals, acknowledging the important role of affect on the formation of values. It's enabled me to create rich and descriptive accounts of lived experiences, moral frameworks, and worldviews, which would be outside quantitative methodologies' purview. My hypothesis going into this research is that we develop pro-animal worldviews through a relational process rather than necessarily a logical, rational, or impartial one, as many dominant Western paradigms have suggested. So this is an embodied, contextual, and affective process, and our values emerge from this animal-human relationship and encounters. In addition, an enabling environment can help us become more open to the experience and relationship with the other. This relational philosophy and theory aligns with scholarship such as Laurie Gruen's work, who notes that our moral frameworks emerge from the context of our lived experiences, including our familial, social, educational, gendered, and political experiences. The key themes that emerged from my interviews with participants were their awe-inspiring encounters and peak experiences with animals, their moments of eye contact as catalysts for recognizing animals as equals as persons or as possessing souls, their reciprocal relationships, such as feeling chosen by animals, and kinship, describing animals as siblings, friends, and soulmates. Also, traumatic experiences with animals, such as witnessing an animal being killed or suffering, and experiencing that as moral shocks leading to transformation in their worldviews and behaviors. These experiences all led them to want to help animals become vegan or engage in animal advocacy. I've chosen a selection of quotes and linked some of them back to my theoretical frameworks. Just noting that I chose my participants' names based on Australian wildlife and birds to honour and centre animals in the research process. Awe, and in particular nature-induced awe, according to the scholarship, can lead one to commune, to surrender, and learn how to decenter ourselves, our ego, and our anthropocentrism. It has been described as a lightning bolt, allowing one to see clearly what is important in life, and has been explored across scholarly disciplines, including psychology, philosophy, theology, and animal studies. Here, Firetail talks about how an awe moment led her to feel a kinship and adopt a lens of egalitarianism. Participants' descriptions of their experiences with animals can be considered similar to Martin Buber's I-Thou theory as interpreted by Eileen Christ. She uses Len Howard's bird studies as a model to include animals in this theory. And rather than a separation between animals and humans during an encounter, the I-Thou suggests one enters it with one's whole being, one's senses, body, heart, and mind. And this human-animal encounter, which may be fleeting or evolve over time, is reciprocal, relational, and transformative, erasing dichotomies between subject and observer, and object and observed. And here, for example, Teal describes an I-Thou type experience with her cat. Eye contact moments is one of the biggest and strongest themes that emerged when participants describe their encounters and relationships with animals. And honestly, it's one of my favorite themes. Emmanuel Levinas, in his theory of the face of the other, noted that speech is possible without words, as eyes can speak and possess their own language. Laurie Gruen also suggests that we may encounter animals and not look them in the eye. Once we do, our relationships with other animals can change. Lorikeet's words here, as well as Goldfinch's, echo these theories, as do numerous other participants. Sanderling was born into a family with animals and felt like a younger sister to her family's cats. She describes the dynamic almost like siblings and notes how her relationship with her companion animals influenced her worldview and behavior. These kind of multi-species family descriptions from my participants echoes a lot of research that suggests that in multi-species families, animals are construed as significant others and called, for example, siblings or partners. Childhood relationships with animals are linked to many aspects of pro-animal values and veganism. This can include meat avoidance, increased moral opposition to animal exploitation, deprioritizing of humans of animals, choosing a career dedicated to animal protection, greater pro-animal values, and often in complex ways, higher empathy. Participants linked their animal connections to their decisions to go vegan. For example, Thornbull said, "Connection's a big part of helping create change, and it helped me feel more certain and comfortable in my own journey into being a vegan." This echoes scholarship of the animal demanding, speaking back, or the experience of attentiveness, implying an ethical response and etiquette. Petrel also links the connection to empathy and then to care. And just noting that Immanuel Kant claimed that attentiveness to animals, including devotion, love, and observation, prevents one from contemplating cruelty to a wolf. Petrel said, "When you make a connection with another sentient creature, you're far more likely to care about it because you felt a level of emotional empathy with that through the connection. You both experienced a common reality, and so you can conceptualize, I wouldn't want this to happen to me." For some participants, documentaries, social media, animated films, and other visual media can simulate direct encounters, catalyzing pro-animal values and veganism. This aligns with a retrospective survey, for example, an experimental study published by Faunalytics, which explored various animal advocacy strategies and their impact on behaviors and attitudes towards farmed animals. They found that 73% of participants identified social media or blogs as effective in increasing sympathy towards animals. Exposing graphic violence to animals is a common tool for many animal advocates, and research has suggested that it's an effective strategy in moving individuals towards an animal rights vegan worldview. Participant named films like Dominion, Lucent, and Earthlings, all of which feature violence towards animals in their narratives. Footage of violence towards animals on social media, such as Facebook, is another theme that came up strongly. And here we see Starling talk about seeing footage of animals in abattoirs and connecting it to her decision to stop eating meat. Goldfinch recounted watching Gary Yourofsky's film at age 15, crying and claiming that her mind was completely shifted after seeing it. This is in line with a study by Laura Fernandez, a vegan animal liberation activist, who also noted this particular film called The Most Important Speech You Will Ever Hear as being highly impactful. The speech, which also contains graphic violence to animals, has over 1 million views on YouTube. So these are all other ways that people are experiencing animals virtually through social media and visual media like documentaries. Not all participants describe their embodied encounters with animals or their experiences of animals through visual media as being profoundly transformative in their journey to becoming animal people. Also, participants who did experience transformative, life-changing moments with animals may have done so because of other influencing factors that created an enabling environment, allowing them to be present and open to the experience. Here I draw on Jack Meserau's theory of transformational learning. He posits that we need to comprehend, organize, and derive meaning from our experiences and integrate them into our worldview. This process is both intricate and demanding. We interpret our impressions through a meaning framework that contextualizes our experiences and can often reflect prevailing cultural paradigms such as anthropocentrism. This meaning framework can also embody viewpoints influenced by, for example, our primary caregivers. It shapes and constrains our reactions to experiences, affecting us cognitively, emotionally, and intentionally, and ultimately forming our worldview. The meaning framework anchors our values and sense of identity, providing us with stability, coherence, and community and a sense of belonging, and therefore we tend to protect it vigorously. And so efforts to change it can feel threatening and provoke strong emotional responses and resistance. However, we do possess the ability, according to Meserau, to transform our meaning-making framework. And here in the area on enabling environments, I look at supportive family values and role models. For example, my participant Robin shared how her mother had been a massive influence on her animal values and instilled a love for animals into the family from a young age. Pre-existing vegetarian or vegan diets was also a big theme. Prion became vegan initially because of health reasons, having grown up with a mother who she described as a crazy health freak. And she recounts a time when she wasn't yet vegan and watched animal advocacy debating style videos on social media and felt defensive. She says only after she became vegan because of health reasons, she then became receptive to animal advocacy messages. Participants describe teachers, school friends, and friends of siblings as being influential to their journey. This lines up with scholarship that suggests that social groups or peers have a potent influence on an individual's values, and people act as members of collectives and are motivated by collective outcomes. People are motivated by looking virtuous to others, their reputations, holding the same views as one's social group. For example, Elizabeth Cherry, in her study, concludes that the support of family and friends is crucial to teenage vegans' retention of a vegan lifestyle. While Adam Feltz notes that people who are exposed to someone who is vegetarian reduce their meat consumption. Here, Prion talks about one of her sports coaches, and finding out that she was vegan opened Prion up to another perspective. One of the reasons for becoming vegan was to impress her, and she says, we have a really strong connection now that I've gone vegan. So Prion said, this amazing coach that I've looked up to for my whole life, she's taken on this lifestyle and this belief. What am I not looking at? What am I missing? Why is she doing this? This was a little bit of a surprising theme that came through, that negative experiences with human beings, such as trauma, emotional abandonment, social isolation, can influence animal values. And this echoes scholarly work, such as Erin Van Voorhees, who finds that animal advocates attribute their own experiences of abandonment and trauma to their heightened empathy and sensitivity towards animals. Emily Gard also found that women in the animal rights activist movement believed that experiencing violence, rape, or abuse led to their own motivations to help animals. Here we see Prion describing a difficult childhood. She said that she came from a very controlling environment. She was isolated. Her family took their anger out on her, and she believed all of this led to her own empathy for animals. Rosella also shares that at age 9, she was sexually abused for 2 years, which she believes led to her desire to become an animal advocate. So what are the implications and contributions of my research? Well, I suggest that relational and embodied approaches, such as the theoretical frameworks I've drawn upon here, entangled empathy or attentiveness, the I-thou relationship, for example, are important to consider in animal advocacy strategies and in humane education. I also suggest that animals themselves can catalyze change in us, and this may include animals experienced through visual media, such as animal advocacy documentaries and social media. Finally, that enabling environments are very important and may lead someone to be more open to an animal experience and relationship. And this may include pro-animal family members, friends, mentors, a pre-existing veg diet, or sadly negative experiences with humans. And all of this can lead to ethical transformations and towards becoming a vegan, animal rights, animal person. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share my research with you. And I would welcome any questions, thoughts, feedbacks. Here's my email, and look forward to being in touch. Thank you.